Hello. In this video, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to explore the 30-degree, 60-degree, 90-degree triangle, commonly known as the 30-60-90 triangle. Okay, here I have an equilateral triangle, which tells me that each of my sides are congruent and each of my angles are congruent. Since the sum of the angles is 180 degrees, then I know that the measure of each angle is 60 degrees. But we're going to be looking at not an equilateral triangle today, but we're going to be exploring the 30, 60, 90. And the way that we get that from this equilateral triangle is we're going to drop a perpendicular right here, or the altitude. And when I do that, drop a perpendicular, this angle here is 90 degrees, this one stays 60, and this one I cut in half. You can see that. Cut my triangle in half, so this angle is 30 degrees, and this angle here is also 30 degrees. Hence, the 30, 60, 90 triangle. So let's look at the what happens with the sides. Let's look at the sides and how we use the Pythagorean theorem. So let's say that the length of this side is 2. Then the length from here to here is 2, but if I'm looking only at the 30, 60, 90 triangle, then this side is 1. And of course, then this over here is 1. But I'm just going to look at this triangle, and I want to know how big the height is. So from the Pythagorean theorem, I know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which is the hypotenuse. So a, let's say it's 1 squared plus b is the height. I don't know what that is. And it's going to equal 2 squared. So I have 1 plus b squared equals c squared, which is 2 squared, which is going to be 4. So then when I solve for b, I subtract 1 from both sides, and I get that b squared equals 3. So b equals the square root of 3. So my sides would be 1, square root of 3, and 2. That's my relationship. And I use the Pythagorean theorem to see that. Now let's say for this triangle, again the 30, 60, 90 triangle, let's say that I'm given this side, and this side is 3. Well, then I know that this is half. I covered up the triangle, but let me just show you for a moment. It's half of the whole side, so if half of it is 3, then this side is 6. And then I can use the Pythagorean theorem to find out what b is. So I'm going to have that, I have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A is 3, so I have 3 squared plus b squared equals 6 squared. So I have 9 plus b squared equals 36. Subtract 9 from both sides, and I get that b squared equals 27, and b equals the square root of both sides, the square root of 27, which we know is it's the square root of 9, times 3. The square root of 9 is 3. So my final answer, and I'll write it over here, my height is 3 square root of 3. So you might have been noticing that my height, the one opposite the 30 degrees is half the hypotenuse, and the one opposite the 60 degrees is whatever the small side is times the square root of 3. But if I forget, I'll just use the Pythagorean theorem, because there's a relationship that I know between these two sides, because it comes from the equilateral triangle The relationship is clear, and then I can use that relationship to find the third side. So I don't have to memorize anything because I know where the 30, 60, 90 triangle came from. One more example here where the hypotenuse of my 30, 60, 90 is 1, then the side opposite the 30 is going to be 1/2, and then I'm going to look for the height, or b. Okay, and the reason I'm going to do this is because it's going to come up again when we look at the unit circle. But I know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A squared is 1/2 squared plus b squared equals c squared, which is 1 squared. So 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. 1/4 plus b squared equals 1. Subtract the 1/4 from both sides and leave it as a fraction, and I get b squared equals 3/4, and then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So that leaves me with b equals, split it up, the square root of 3 over the square root of 4, and so b equals the square root of 3 divided by 2. Or, in other words, it's 1/2 times the square root of 3. So by now, you may have realized that the shortcut is whatever my hypotenuse is, I take half to get the one opposite the 30, and then the one opposite the 60 is the small side times the square root of 3. But if I forget, I go back and I use the Pythagorean theorem, and I don't have to memorize anything other than just the Pythagorean theorem. So I hope this clarifies things. Thank you for watching.